Hey everybody, I'm Shane.
He's totally Shane. And today, I'm Lex. And
today I'm Lex. This is our office sybil.
Wow.
Probably, I guess Kelly's probably the only one that actually got that.
I did understand that, yeah.
Of course you did.
Dude, you totally derailed my train there. I'm going to have a minute. I need to compose myself. That was good.
As JJ said, it's a good thing we had that on mute.
Wow.
Not what you just heard before.
Yeah.
Anyway, welcome everybody to PDQ A, and happy St. Patty's Day for amateur night is on Thursday. It's where I actually stay away from the bars.
Wow. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's going to be 9 deep.
9 deep.
My favorite bar, so I don't go. Anyway. Let's throw down your questions. Let's go ahead and get started.
Q&A.
Yeah, PDQ A.
Dear Shane and Lex, I am upgrading to Pro Inventory Enterprise soon, so maybe this is already a feature in the Enterprise version, but is it possible to add non-discoverable devices to PDQ Inventory? I'm thinking of projectors, interactive whiteboards, etc., so that all of my tech inventory is in one system. Thanks, Kevin R.
Hey, Kevin. The answer is yes. There's some qualifiers there. We don't scan these systems, but you can enter them, especially if they have an IP address, if they're on the network. So if they're on the network, go ahead, Lexus.
On the network, you can actually do a network discovery, and this will go out and ping and add those for you. Caveat, guys, if you have a really aggressive security team, call them, let them know, because it's going to go scan the subnet.
Yeah. So you can do there's a number of ways that you can get these in there, right? So like a Linux box right now, we don't scan those, but you can add them, especially if they're already an Active Directory and you have an import. We'll import computer objects. So like if your projector in your case does have an IP address, you can add it, but you won't be able to scan it. But you can. Let's say that Jerry happened to be this computer Jerry happened to be that projector. You could right-click on it and uncheck the Allow Scan. That way, it won't attempt to be scanned since it wouldn't be successful anyway. And I'm in the Allow Scan collection. Let's go to Jerry here.
There we go.
And then once you have something that's set as non-scannable, then there's a couple of fields that you can populate. You could say you could edit the OS and say this is a projector or whatever. So there's a little bit of work on your side, but yeah, you can, especially if it has an IP address. If it's not something that we can find on the network, then anybody have any suggestions?
We're looking at you, Jordan.
I mean, other than
I didn't know I was going to have to speak.
No, by discovery, I can't think of anything other than manually putting in the IP address.
But no, if there's no IP address.
No IP address?
No, I don't.
Thanks for paying attention.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep up. I don't know how to add anything without the IP.
No worries. I'm going to go ahead and go back to the computer menu and say Allow Scan. But that's pretty much how you can do it. We've on our production system here, we've got some of those devices, printers and stuff that we've used network scan, and then we just mark those as
printers.
Don't allow a scan, and then this is a Lex mark, and this is that.
The other nice thing about those, once you get them in, if you go to the tools and customize, you can actually try and access, because your printers, you go to customize, there's a tool in here.
Oh, in the tools library?
Yeah, where it's right here, tools library, it would be.
That's if you have like an SSH or something like that?
Yeah. Where is the connect to via HTTP? So if you have a
that's not even that. Yeah, that's just the HTTP. Okay.
So that'd kick off like a Chrome, and then you'd be able to go work on your printer.
Yeah, if your device happens to have a
web interface.
Interface. Yeah, that's a good reminder. Thank you very much.
Dear Shane, Lex, and mostly silent Jordan, for PDQ Inventory, is it easy to search for monitors by serial number without using reports? Sincerely, Shakal S.
Search for serial numbers. Okay.
Well, you can in collections you can have a filter for like a range of serial numbers or certain serial numbers, but you won't see them. I'm talking about the monitor serial number. You wouldn't see them in the collection, the actual serial number in the collection window, but you'd see the computers that match that. Otherwise, you're going to want to use reports.
Yeah, I was going to say you'd end up. And here's the thing: you pull the serial number on the monitor, but you're going to get a computer that's attached to it as the response. So I don't know if you're trying to just see what monitors are out there. You know what I'm saying?
Let me see if this one shows.
Displays.
There we go. Yeah, so we have, click that, serial number, say okay, does this, and the serial number, it's if the vendor provides it.
Yeah.
Yeah, with our scanner. So here, if I wanted to show this on multiple computers, number one, you can see the serial number by just going to that computer and doing what I did. If you don't see the serial number column there under displays, click this little top left corner of
Customize
your
the
table.
grid button there.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can also do that via view and edit columns. But click that, and those are the hidden columns. You can move all of them over if you want.
But again, this is a machine stud 1, right?
Yes, this is per machine.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you need to show the serial number, you will need to use a report, and then you'll see, all the different computers.
Just remember, when you're building a collection, that's an actionable list of machines that you want to work on. If you need to know just information about it, generally a report's a better.
I'm thinking though, now that we've kind of walked through it, that perhaps you didn't realize that the serial number was a hidden value in the computer window, and hopefully that solved that answered the question.
What do you have, Jordan?
He put a clarification in the chat saying he's looking for what computer is attached to certain monitors.
Oh.
I don't know how to do that without putting it in a report, though.
Yeah.
The cool thing,
Well,
the cool thing about it is the monitor is attached to the computer record. So that's really what you could do, once again, a collection to say this serial number, and it will show you whatever computer that's attached to. But you won't be able to view the serial number in the collection window. When I'm talking about the collection window, I'm talking about this window here.
Yeah.
You won't be able to view the actual serial number, but you'll be able to view computers that match that filter.
Dear Shane and Lex, PDQ Inventory or Inventory, is there any way to pull members of a collection through PowerShell? Sincerely, Justin R.
Check this move out.
Well, the answer is yes, but maybe not the way you want. Do you want to throw this? I mean, there's.
You want to throw down on that one, Jordan?
Everybody?
Yeah, so we actually have built-in commands for PowerShell for this. If you, in inventory, put PDQ Inventory space help, it'll give you a list of commands, and I think it's get collection members or computers, I'm not sure.
Get collection computers, I think.
Get collection
if you go up to help, and you'll see open elevated command prompt, that will actually take you to, the PDQ inventory directed. Now, this is not in PowerShell, but since PowerShell can take CMD commands, you can do the same thing in PowerShell. You can open a PowerShell and run this. But yeah, it's PDQ inventory. If you just run the PDQ inventory, you'll see a usage statement. One of those is get collection computers. So it would be get collection computers, and then the name of the collection. So if we were to do like online systems, if they have a space, make sure to use your quotes, but online systems. And those are the computers that are in online systems. And if from PowerShell, you would just effectively run that. We don't have PowerShell commandlets native yet. Hopefully we will.
Yes, we have some commands that are built in if you open up PowerShell. That are built in there.
Okay.
We do? What are they?
Or maybe they are just running the command. And
I think they are just running the command.
Misunderstanding.
I think they're just running the
work
command.
It
Commands,
looks like
commandlets run in, or commands run in PowerShell.
It all runs
Yes,
in PowerShell.
I know, but my point is I don't think we have PowerShell commandlets.
We don't have modules yet.
No modules yet.
Okay. Rock on.
Dang it, he's wishing hard. Oh man, I wish I had those.
Hey dudes, so what's the diff between include entire directory and installation requires source in deploy? Thanks, Faizan N.
Well, let's move over to deploy.
There you go.
All right, so let's look at. I'm just gonna grab Google Chrome Enterprise and convert it. I'm gonna convert it right now. This is an auto download package. I'm just gonna. Actually, I don't want to do that because there's one auto download approval waiting. Let me just go out to package library and grab one. Give me a second here. We'll just grab the wonderful 7-zip. 7-zip has been downloaded so many times.
A million times just for us because it's so quick and easy.
I'm going to convert this to a standard package. So I'm going to go to options. There's convert to a standard. What this means is the next version of 7-zip, this particular package won't get updated.
Yep.
But
we can go in and take a look at and change these.
So what you're talking about here is this include entire directory. So the include entire directory means when you're running this step, without that checked, all that's going to happen is it's going to grab this exe in this case, or the source file, or the install file, and it's going to copy that down to the target computer and then execute it with the /s parameter. If you click include entire directory, it will grab all of the files and subdirectories that are in this 7-zip directory. So this the install file plus all of the files surrounding it, including subdirectories, and copy all of that down to the target.
A really good example of that would be like if you were doing Microsoft Office. If you just ran the setup exe
By itself with none of those supporting files, it would fail.
Yeah, you need the supporting files. That's when you would click the include.
It's basically you'll need the include entire directory if you're installing something that has more than one file.
Cap files.
If everything is
files.
encapsulated into one install file, then you don't need to. Now, the source that you're talking about, this should be used very rarely. This is kind of a throwback, but there are applications that require this. When we install from an install step, especially, this really comes down to MSI files. When you run an MSI file, especially back in the early 2000s and the early aughts, it would often have the install source, which is the path that was originally run from, stored in the registry. And if you ever needed to uninstall or modify that, it would say, oh, go out to this directory where you installed it from and run that.
Make the modifications.
Problem is, we delete that we delete the install files after they get executed so that we're not filling up your computer. TechSmith's Snagit is an example that still has this problem. So if you were to install Snagit, you would want to go over to Options, click Installation Requires Source, and what that does is it places it into a directory that doesn't get deleted after the installation, and that way you can go back and modify Snagit or anything else. So they are completely different reasons. You'll hardly ever have to use the Installation Requires Source, but you'll quite often need to use include entire directory.
Absolutely.
Dear Shane and Lex, should we use PDQ Deploy and Inventory to push out cumulative updates for Windows or WSUS? Why? Thanks, Zane H.
Hey, Zane.
It comes down to preference, I'd say. When you push them out through with PDQ Deploy, and then use Inventory to verify it happens right then. I mean, you can schedule it later, but it's pretty fast. WSUS, a big complaint people have about WSUS is it takes a while to initiate that, and the reporting is not the best.
It's I would say it's a little more difficult to get the information back. I mean, here's the thing: you use PDQ Deploy, it's going to push it out, it's going to update inventory. When I come in the next morning, say I push it in the evening, I've got collections that are telling me whether or not it worked. WSUS, is it the day I'm supposed to download? The next day, did it run? Did it not run? So for me, it's always just been more concise and more accurate for me.
I think one of the reasons people usually use ours is it's just faster, and they get feedback. They get near immediate feedback. Okay, this was installed. I can reboot it now. There you go. But it really does come down to preference.
I'll drink to that. Well, I'll drink to pretty much anything, but.
Dear Shane and Lex, how do you recommend to push monthly updates to Office products so we can fully get off of SCCM? Sincerely, Patrick H.
Good question. Hey, Patrick. We don't, at this point, we don't offer or in the package library, we don't offer all of those Office updates. There are so many. It would be very, very time intensive for us. The cumulative updates for the OS we offer. We are planning on offering the .NET cumulatives. So if you can still push those out. You'll just need to build those packages. At this point, you'd still need to grab those installation files, go over to new package, click that, add an install step, and throw that in there and delete it or install it. You can do it fairly quickly, but there can be a lot of patches. So I understand it can be kind of harrowing. Let's keep an eye on that. I'm talking to the folks here. Let's keep an eye on that and see if there's any way we can try to make that a little easier for people.
And the other thing, I mean, that many patches and that many things going out, you look at our price point versus SCCM, you can kind of
Yeah.
understand
More
where we're at.
significantly cheaper. Get the good point.
Dear Shane and Lex, what is the best method to use inventory and determine if a machine is configured for a specific SSID for the wireless profile? Sincerely, Larry G. Show.
Larry G. Can you pull up with WMI?
Yeah, you can pull up. I'm pretty sure you can pull up the SSID with a WMI scanner. Probably too much to show right now because I'd have to dig around. But basically you'd go over to. I'll start you off. How's that? We'll go over here to. Where's our scanner?
Let's go to
inventory first. Let's go to scan profile. Thank you.
The correct product for the.
It always works. Yeah, correct product helps.
Okay, the new
Yeah,
one.
little-
We'll just call this WMI, whatever. WMI SSID or something, and then add. You'd come down to the WMI, and you can launch WMI Explorer.
Now, the great thing about that is it helps build that query for you. And if you're like me and I'm like, I know what I'm looking for, but I'm not sure how to write that the query statement for that, this definitely helps out. And just remember in this tool, you need to double click to get
Yeah,
further
you
down the
do.
list.
And so it would probably be under SimV2,
Yeah.
I'd say. But so it's expanding that and maybe network. You'll need to play around with this. But there's your network adapter, network connection maybe, and then let's see. You can just scroll down. If there's a wireless, if the SSID is captured, then you can grab this query, throw it in there, and be able to do that. You'd most likely need to be a WMI scanner.
Also, if you're not looking for just scan, but just a one-off computer, you could probably create a custom tool with PowerShell that would query the single machine if you're working on just the one at the time.
That's a good point. Thank you.
Nice, nice.
Thanks, man.
Are you channeling Chris over there?
Well, he just wouldn't know what he's doing. Is volunteering.
Chris won't take his PowerShell test because I think he's afraid of my score.
Oh, throw down.
Dang, Chris.
We're going to see
Throw
Chris
down.
backflip in here, and then just before he has to go put a girdle under, he's going to throw down.
I say that, but then Colby crushed me. Was not close.
Was not close.
Because he wrote the test.
Hey, Shane, Lex, and Jordan. I'm seeing over 37,000 items in a deployment output folder. Is it safe to remove items from that directory? I'm house cleaning my deploy box and don't want to break anything. Sincerely, Stephen V.
Steven.
We do have a limit to we should have a limit where that gets parsed out. Here you can delete it, but here's what you're going to lose. That deployment output. We just do a deploy here so we can actually see what
See some
the
output.
hell we're talking about. Let's go to Google Enterprise. I'm just going to actually go find a computer that doesn't have
That
Chrome.
needs it.
So for this one, if they did want to do it, I think Stephanie has a blog out there about cleaning out old records with SQL.
Can do that. I would be very judicious because, man, you hit the delete statement wrong, everything's gone. But, that is true.
I'm
Just
gonna
make sure
approve
you do
this.
a lot of testing before you throw down a sequel. But
I'm going to actually abort this. It's running. So what you're going to lose while I'm here is this. The step output, if there happens to be a link here that tells you what what that file looked like or what that output file looked like, that's when you delete the deployment output items, you're losing this. So the output log, I can click that and I can see the output log. You delete it, you won't be able to.
Yeah.
You're not going to break anything. You just won't be able to use that. So we do have a hard limit. I don't recall what the number is where we're supposed to purge that. I thought it was fewer than 37,000, but. Anyway, that's what you'll be losing. It's not the end of the world unless you need to troubleshoot something.
Dear Shane and Lex, PDQ Inventory. Can you nest group filters? Sincerely, Justin R.
Yes. Want me to show you?
yes, I'm just trying to process when I would want to do that one. But
Yeah, no. There's
show it.
legitimate reasons.
no, there are. I got nothing.
So
coming
I'm
on.
gonna highlight all. That's a group filter.
Okay.
I'll create this group filter. All right, and I'll move this down there. And then I'm going to highlight the second one, do that. Notice how it's indented a little bit. And then I'll add a value filter there. So we work furthest in and then on the way up.
Yep.
So yes, there are times you want to do that where you'll run this, but it's contingent on this group filter, or this group filter is contingent on the output of this. You can also mostly, or a lot of times, you'll end up having them at the same level.
Yeah.
But yes, you can nest them.
I love how Boolean your response was. Is it? Yes. Next question.
The answer is yes. You just have to, it does help to understand how these are
I just
processed.
thought of one. It's like, give me all the machines that have Chrome on it, and then return me the ones that aren't part of that list. Not any.
Sure.
That would be good.
Dear Shane and Lex, this is in regards to the Spectre vulnerability. It seems that Intel and Microsoft are slowing down on releasing microcode patches for certain CPU families. What is the best way to create collections in inventory sorted by the CPU families? This seems like a major pain, but you guys always seem to pull something out for us. Sincerely, Brian.
Kelly.
All right.
That
Brian
was-
May.
I didn't know that song, actually. It was Crash Test Dummies.
If you want, I would recommend you actually use a report, not a collection, because with the report you can show.
You can group by.
Yeah, it's
I mean-
probably a little better, but the answer is yes. It's let's see what we can find here. CPU. What was it was? Boy, we have so much CPU information here. I don't want to take too long on this. Maybe CPU. Let's take a peek at
Grab the
that.
processor, maybe.
Tell me what to do.
Don't tell me what to do.
There's so many CPU. Yes, the answer is yes. If you want to break down, well, I guess I'm answering the question. If you want to create a report to break down or to show the CPU,
These machines are of this CPU generation.
and then
that
you
kind of
can
thing.
modify that sort order a little easier.
Yeah.
You can do it in a collection as well, but report you're going to really fine tune what you can see.
A little more granular data there.
Yeah, that's probably the best way to do it. There's a lot of CPU. We've based off of a lot of feedback over the years. We've added so many attributes of the CPU that we grab and collect. So sorry, I don't have that answer right off the top of my head.
Hey Shane and Lex, I understand the PDQ Deploy 16 has the ability to start a deployment from any step or redeploy from a failed step. How about if my deployment is coming from a schedule, auto deployment job, and it failed halfway through? Will it continue from where it failed or start from the beginning when the schedule kicks in to redeploy? Thanks, Jeffrey O.
If it's kicking off from a schedule, it's going to start and you redeploy, or the schedule kicks off again and it had failed. It's just the schedule will start from the first step.
Step one.
Or either pre-step if it's an auto download and you have that, or basically the very first step it will start from. It's if you had a schedule kickoff and a computer failed, you could go to that failed computer
Specific deployment and start it on the failed
either
step.
on the deployment, or here it's not scheduled, but you could right click on that and say start from failed step, and then that's how it would do it. But the next time that schedule runs, all schedules,
Start step one.
yeah, that start from a step is meant for the deploy now.
I guess you're saying
redeploy.
it starts from the first step that's
Deploy
not
one.
disabled, so step one.
Yeah, good point.
Dear Shane and Lex, can you change wireless adapter driver advanced settings using PDQ Deploy and PowerShell? Looking to change preferred band to 5 gigahertz and roaming aggressiveness to less aggressive. Thanks, Timothy M.
I don't know.
Is that data stored in a registry? If it is, you can change
Let's
that.
even remove it from the registry. Can you if you can do that in PowerShell?
It's not something that I've tried to do, but I'm going to assume that you probably could. I could probably look it up and email them back after this.
Let's
Give Colby
okay,
10 seconds to figure out
Stephen
what
Valdinger, thank you. Said yes, you can. All in uppercase. He was doing this really fast.
Nice.
Yes, you can. So the answer is yes, but I don't know how to do it.
It's a registry fix or a PowerShell or
What I would suggest is go out to our forums, post that same question, and then you're probably going to have
Hopefully Stephen
Stephen,
feels
let me answer the. Okay, Stephen, so you
Excited
get
about
it.
it.
Fly over here in the next minute.
Depending on how you answer that, we may put that in the bonus content.
Or else, honestly, if you put that on the forums, post that question on the forums, Baldinger will be right there. So
We will
will Colby.
link it to the bonus
It looks like it'll get answered, and yes, and then of course, if you can do it in PowerShell, you can deploy that from PDQ Deploy.
Yay, PDQ community. Woo!
Thanks, Stephen.
Dear Shane and Lex, I am working on making sure we are compliant with our Microsoft Office licenses. I see that out of the box there are collections that already break it down by version and various service packs. Can you help by further breaking it down by ProPlus and Standard? Thanks, Jeremy O.
There's two possible. Can we do it? I don't know that we would build those Microsoft Office collections you're talking about are kind of out of the box. We break it down by the major version. Whether we would do that, I don't know. What you can do, there's two options here. Chances are the Pro, the Standard, the Enterprise, that's going to be listed in the application name. So you can go over to, let's go over to Inventory. You can see these Microsoft Office. You can use these as starting points. Maybe create a sub collection, dynamic collection under here, and then just say it contains Office 2013 and the word professional or pro or standard, because that's going to be in the name of the application. Now there are some times where the it's what's known as the addition. The addition is not listed in the application name. This is a big one for SQL Server. So you might have SQL Server Data Center, SQL Server Enterprise, and that will just show SQL Server in the application name, and the service is no roadmap. You actually need to use a registry scanner, dig down, and there's an entry in the registry that shows you the addition. But for Office, it usually shows the addition, Standard, Pro, whatever,
In the name, yeah.
in the application name. You would just need to add that filter to those collections, and you'll be good to go.
Dear Shane and Lex, how can I make all my deployments heartbeat enabled without creating an individual schedule for each? I would just like a package to be deployed in case a machine is offline at the time of deployment. Thanks in advance, Faizan N.
At this point, you can't. The heartbeat is only available when executing from a schedule. So you can enable wake on LAN, but it sounds like you've probably already considered that, and you're just saying, when this comes online, I want that to get kicked off. That's going to have to be a trigger in a schedule at this point. Sorry.
Dear Shane and Lex, some of our machines have been downgraded from Windows 10 to Windows 7. Is it possible with PDQ to see which machines have upgrade rights? Thanks, David Allen F.
I don't know. Anybody know? Anybody know that one?
Where would you go to look for that info?
Yeah.
Yes, that's the hard part. If you know where to look for it, I mean.
Yeah. Once again, I do. If you know where to look, whether it's in WMI or the registry, if there's something you look for, then you can collect that in inventory. But off the top of my head, I don't know. And it's interesting that you downgraded from 10 to 7. Very interesting. I mean, that's a separate conversation over at Guinness. Happy St. Patty's Day.
Yeah.
All together. But do you have anything you want to add?
No, I've never even thought to look at that before. Look for it.
Sorry, David Allen, man.
You stumped.
But if you know where to look, if you do know what you're looking for,
Yeah.
registry scanner, WMI scanner, you'll be able to get most of what you're looking for there.
Absolutely.
Shane and Lex, if you deploy Windows 10 updates out to computers running BitLocker, how would you go about suspending BitLocker so you don't need the BitLocker recovery key after it reboots? Thanks, Chris M.
There's a way you can disable it, but I believe it requires a reboot. Do you know anybody? I believe you would
You have to disable it.
without knowing exactly how to kick that off. You'd have a package that either disabled it and then did the reboot, and then
kicked off
kicked off another one, and you could have that nested, or you'd have a step that would go out there and say, hey, if BitLocker's enabled, disable it, do a reboot step. When that comes back online, run your installation, even reboot, turn it back on, perhaps.
Yeah.
But yeah, if anybody knows, that one. You're probably going to have to do multiple reboots, and you can do that within your package or have nested packages or separate packages that do that. There's really quick. There's similar. I mean, we've got like stuff like DeepFreeze is an example where, or even if you're installing applications on a terminal server, there are times you have to run pre-steps or run steps before to kind of set the environment to allow applications to be installed on terminal server, or to take a DeepFreeze machine and run it in thawed mode. It usually requires a reboot. You can do all of that in the proper
steps,
sequence. Yeah. And once again, if you have a package that you need to do a reboot, like let's go here to 7-zip and say I needed
add a reboot step in there.
I needed to add a reboot step in here, so I'm going to just go over to new and do reboot and throw reboot right up here. There we go. Oops, down.
Nice thing is PDQ Deploy will control that reboot and wait for it to come back online. What do you got, Jordan?
This is from the chat. Apparently in PowerShell there is a suspend -BitLocker command and a resume BitLocker that you can put at the beginning and end for those.
People test it. Test it. Make sure it works for you.
And I
launch
don't
it,
know if that does require a reboot when it's done with PowerShell or not.
Oh, okay.
I want to call out a bug that I just noticed. So our QA team, take a peek at that, automation team. Notice I just added a reboot and it shows step 4. Now I wouldn't be surprised if I close that and open it back up that gets renumbered.
Yep,
yeah,
there it is.
But you have to close and open it to do that. So will you guys jump on that? I'm looking at Jordan.
Absolutely.
We're looking at you.
I don't see any jumping.
I see slouching.
Dear Shane and Lex, PDQ Deploy, how can I view packages running or queued to a single target PC to monitor progress of multiple installs to that specific PC? Sincerely, Anonymous Dash.
Yeah, so that's a good question. Obviously, you've run into you see kind of the limitation that we've got when you are looking at deployments. Go back over here to deploy. You can look at all deployments, but that doesn't look at per computer.
It's an instance
These
of
are
the
all,
deployment.
This window shows all the deployments, and the respective panel below shows the targets respective to that deployment. The only other way you can do that, and you're not going to be able to monitor the status as it happens, it's just you're monitoring it shortly thereafter, is to look in inventory. Go to a computer. Let's go to, and we'll go to Allen Rails. Hopefully there's a deployment to Allen Rails. And you look at the deployments there, and then these are the deployments that have hit that. But you're not going to be able to see necessarily all
what's queued up.
Yeah.
Is there? Could you do that in SQL maybe, or in a SQL?
Yeah. Okay. So if you were to, we certainly wouldn't recommend it, because now you could run a SQL to say show me deployments where that haven't finished, any status or state that's not complete. Show me all for this computer. You could do that, but we don't recommend connecting to. Try to minimize your connections to the database.
Bad things can happen.
Yeah, you just don't want to corrupt it. But the answer is that's a very good point.
You could be careful,
SQL.
guys. Yeah.
And if you really want to, once again, you can initiate an SQL. Go to Preferences Database, and you can open up the SQLite console, and then you can actually just run your
SQL query right there.
Your SQL query here, your select statement there, and
again,
return.
Be careful, guys. Anytime you touch the database, just be careful.
Generally, read only is okay, but if you could just approach with care. I would definitely not try to script this so that you had a bunch of different connections to that database, because you could corrupt it. SQLite's not built for that.
Dear Shane and Lex, is there a way to make deployments deploy with a pool of product keys or individualized, customized per deployment license keys? Thanks, Nick H.
Yes, there is. There's. It's not a native feature. It's not a native feature. You'd have to script it out a little bit and have like your keys listed perhaps in a file that is then referenced and based off of certain criteria, it knows which computer to assign that to. Otherwise, when you're talking about if, say, 7-zip did have a file or a license, if you could pass it in the parameter, you'd have to place it there. It's usually something like, lick equals, and then
say lick, I want more scotch.
something like that. You would have to change that as it goes. Next time you deploy it. What's good is if you have a site license or something like if you
KVM. Server, site license, server license.
Then you can just put that license there and kick it off, and it's good. But if once every single computer requires a different one, you're going to have to change. You're going to most likely have to change that at the parameters level if it allows a license key to be placed in a parameter.
And I could see that being, and Chris is just going to be so proud of me. I can see you doing that in a PowerShell script. I really. Don't smile every time I bring up PowerShell. Everyone's like, "Oh, yeah, go ahead, man. Go ahead, throw down."
Oh no, I've nothing. I'm excited to see you seeing the light.
Oh, I got nothing against PowerShell.
He sees a glimmer. Don't expect him to walk into the light. He's just acknowledging that there's something over there that's kind of catching his eye. I can totally
see that happening, though.
You're giving him way too much credit.
Absolutely.
Dear Shane and Lex, I have a set of public computers that I have to maintain. These systems are not on our domain, but have internet access through a separate VLAN. Is there a way to have these systems managed and updated by PDQ Inventory and Deploy? Thanks, Jeremy O.
As long it's the same requirement, whether it's spanning VLANs or even VPN. You need to be able to access those computers via file and print sharing. So if they're public computers, they probably have that disabled. If you cannot access via right now the admin dollar share, if they're not out there and available, then no, you won't be able to. But if they are, and you can get to it, your network is allowed to get that VLAN or the VLAN that your deploy server and deploying an inventory server are at. If they can get to that VLAN and see that target and it's got file and print sharing, then yes, you would just have
and
to.
And it's got access to DNS.
You would
DNS
need to enter.
Thank
you. DNS is always important. You would need to enter different credentials. You said they're not part of your domain, so let's say that you've got these public computers. Maybe they all have the same. Maybe they all have the same administrator account password or something. You would just you can keep the domain blank, or you can use a period, just a dot, but domain blank. And let's say that you're a little smarter, and it's you change the name of the administrator to Scott. And there's your Scott. It's a local admin. You type in the password, and then for the description, just maybe do public computers.
It's always good to label that description. So
and then when you deploy,
when
you deploy this to those computers, you would say, change those credentials to Scott. It's the public computers, and it would use those credentials. You wouldn't be able to use your domain credentials. But,
a lot has to deal with whether your console machine can talk to the other VLANs and to the public machines via ICMP4 and file and print sharing.
Yeah, file and print sharing is the big one. ICMP is to show if it's online via the heartbeat. But if you can't access it from file and print sharing, then right now you're not going to be able to manage it from PDQ.
Dear Shane and Lex, what kind of integration is there for an on-premise WSUS server? Thanks, Sam P.
There's no native integration right now. You could do some integration via an inventory via tools. If you want to create a custom tool, we have customers that have created tools that will run the WUAU update command to instantiate an update check from a computer. So you'd have to use like a custom tool to try to integrate it. But at this point, we don't have any other integration that's native.
Dear Shane and Lex, our final question of the day. Can I exclude particular computers from collections that have scheduled updates with heartbeats or from the pre-built collections? I'm thinking in terms of being able to deal with DeepFreeze frozen computers and other special cases. Sincerely, William, you can call me Billy Z.
Okay, so there's a number of ways up this mountain. Especially if you're talking about a link to, if you've got a schedule that links to a particular collection, and it's going to kick off to any computer in that collection. You're going to maybe want to modify that collection if you don't want DeepFreeze. We do natively grab some DeepFreeze, so you could say anything that has Google Chrome, but if it's got DeepFreeze, the DeepFreeze status is thawed or something like that. You would have to still modify those filters. Another way to do it, but this is globally, is you would add target filters in PDQ Deploy to just say never deploy to these computer names or these computers in this. You go to preferences to do that. Oh, go ahead.
You could also do this, right? Set your schedule, set your package up to say, okay, deploy to this collection, but only run this if it is a member or not a member of a different collection.
But the problem is he's saying it is a member of that collection. He wants some computers in that collection to run and others in that collection to not run.
Well, sure,
based
reference
off
a
of
different collection, though, right there.
But that totally sidesteps the point of they're in this collection. How can I filter even further? Can we get Lex some more whiskey?
All righty then. I
see where
I was kind of going with that.
I do like that you're highlighting that. You're going to need to either change those collection
that's a good point.
filters, honestly, or if it's worth calling out, if there are computers that you never want to have deployments to, then you go to preferences, and under target filters, put in the name of that computer, or it'll take wildcards. So let's say that you've got your DeepFreeze computers that begin with maybe DF. You could do a DF splat, add the filter, and any deployment that goes to a computer that begins with DF would fail. It would just say this has been excluded from a target filter. Or you could also do VLANs, networks, subnets in here. But that's, like I say, that's more of a global one. People will usually use that for like domain controllers or critical servers that they just don't want any deployments to. Otherwise, you're going to need to modify those collections, buddy. That was a pretty good one. A lot of questions out there, man.
Yeah, I think we got stumped a couple times.
Yeah, it's those power. I want to thank Stephen Valdinger out there. Some of those PowerShell questions where the answer is probably or WMI or registry. It's probably you just
got to find it.
What to look for.
Absolutely.
Oh, hey, thank you very much. Happy St. Patty's Day, everybody. We will see you next week. I'm Shane.
I'm Lex.
Thanks for joining our webcast today. Congratulations, Kevin R. and Zane H., winners of PDQ swag. Send us your info at webcast@pdq.com. If you have any additional questions, please feel free to hit up our support forums. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you back here next week.